If there's silence, that means lunch was good. Okay, so we are now going to start our next session, which is a debate, which is on the opinion of the House: artificial intelligence will make the world more humane or less. So for that, I would like to request, with a very big round of applause, Professor Dr. Suman K. Mukherjee, Chairman of the debate, to please come on the stage, sir. And I request the other dignitaries who are a part of the debate to please join us on the stage. Mr. Ashok Vishwanathan, Mr. M. Keshav, Ms. Neena John, if you can please join us on the stage, Ms. Neena John, Dr. Kunal Sarkar, Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee, and Advocate Srivardhan Sinha. Louder, people. Else we can ask Taj to serve you some food here in case you're out of energy. I'm sure we have a lot of food left. So if you guys can show us if you've had lunch and make it a round of applause. Like round. Okay. We would like to felicitate our guests here on the stage, and post that we will move to the debate, which will be moderated and hosted by Dr. Suman Mukherjee. So I request our past President C.A. Anup Singhi and past President C.A. Sanjay Bhattacharya, Sanghai, sorry, C.A. Anup Sanghai, I'm so sorry, to please grace us on the stage and felicitate Professor Dr. Suman K. Mukherjee. I'm briefly reading his bio. Professor Dr. Suman K. Mukherjee has more than 50 years of experience in teaching and research in India and abroad, which includes Professor of XLRI, ISWBM, St. Xavier's College, etc. He has also been the former Director, Calcutta Business School, and former Principal Dean, Bharati Vidya Bhavan Institute and Management Science. He is a consultant to NSAER, Government of India, Ministry of Finance project on problems of economic reforms. Dr. Mukherjee is a former National Director of Ernst & Young. Thank you so much. Can I please request our past President C.S. S.M. Gupta sir and EC Committee member C.S. Rahul Parasrampuria to please grace us on the stage and felicitate Mr. Ashok Vishwanathan. Shri Ashok Vishwanathan is a multiple national and international award-winning filmmaker and is currently the professor and dean at Satyajit Ray Film and Television Institute. His films have been shown at several international film festivals around the world. He has been a visiting professor at Tufts University, Boston, and Mammoth University, New Jersey. Can I now request our past President C.A. Rishi Khator and past President C.A. Shantanu Ghosh to please grace us on the stage and felicitate Mr. M. Keshav. Shri M. Keshav is the founder CEO of Mantra, or Management Training Research Associates, based in Chennai for almost 3 decades. A former journalist, he has also been a television anchor on many shows, including the Quiz Olympiad on Amrita Channel in 2005. Thank you so much. Can I please request our past President C.A. Jitendra Lohia and subcommittee member C.A. Arun Kumar Gupta to please grace us on the stage and felicitate Ms. Neena John. Can I please request our past President Kashi uncle to please join us on the stage for felicitation. Ms. Neena John initiated and conducted several programs organized by Madras Management Association for Women, advocating alternative careers, flexible job options, growing big, public speaking and career guidance for children, business communication, Cambridge Certification Program for Executives, Self-Empowerment, Personality Development, Business and Social Etiquettes, General Issues, and Self-Employment. She is an authorized trainer, business English certificates of Cambridge University. She is a member of Bharatiya Yuva Shakti Trust, a unit of Prince Charles Trust, Business and Youth Starting Together for Aspiring Entrepreneurs. Sorry, did I? Yeah, yes, please. Can I now request our past President C.A. Arun Agarwal and past President C.A. Andu Chatrat, I'm so sorry, C.A. Andu Chatrat to please join us on the stage and felicitate Dr. Kunal Sarkar. Sorry, yeah. Dr. Kunal Sarkar is one of the leading cardiac surgeons of India and a past president of Indian Association of Cardiothoracic Surgeons. He is currently the senior vice chairman and chief cardiac surgeon of Medical Hospitals, Calcutta, and chairman of Kolkata Heart Foundation. He was the vice president and chief cardiosurgeon of Narayan Hridayalaya Group of Hospitals during 2001 to 2012, Rabindranath Tagore International Institute of Cardiac Sciences, Calcutta, India. He, along with Dr. Devi Shetty, nurtured a startup into one of India's largest cardiac programs. Thank you so much, sir. You are one of the most common shared contact numbers in Calcutta WhatsApp groups. Probably you or your secretary, if I am allowed to just make it easy. I don't think so that's a good thing, but then that's a reality. Can I please request our past President C.A. R.R. Modi and EC committee member C.A. Vikas Banka to please join us on the stage and felicitate Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee. Can I request subcommittee member C.A. Arun Kumar Gupta to join us on the stage? Mask के बिना फोटो अच्छी आएगी. Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee is presently the consultant neurosurgeon and academic coordinator, Park Clinic, Kolkata, as well as the honorary professor and head of neurosurgery, Vivekanand Institute of Medical Sciences, Calcutta. Dr. Chatterjee is a member of a number of reputed medical associations such as Indian Medical Association, British Neurosurgical Society, International Society of Pediatric Neurosurgery, and Neurological Society of India, North American Spine Society, etc. He is a visiting professor at AIIMS Delhi and University of Birmingham, University of Lyon, and University of Cape Town. That's a long list. Welcome, sir. Can I now request our past president, K.N. Jain, C.A. K.N. Jain, and EC committee member, C.A. Shubham Ketan, to please join us on the stage and felicitate Advocate Srivardhan Sinha, please. Sri Srivardhan Sinha is a senior partner of Desai and Divanji, one of the oldest and largest law firms in India. He graduated with honors from the National Law School of India University, Bangalore, and holds an LLM in Bangalore and finance from Boston University, as well as a second master's degree in international finance and economic policy from Columbia University. Wow, if I have to add up the experience that we have on the stage, I'm not sure which book that will fill in, but I'm so glad that I had the honor of introducing all of you. Suman sir, it's all up to you now. The stage is yours, and let's let the debate begin. Just to repeat, I am kind of the timekeeper, and my apologies from before. At 9 I will ring a bell, and at 10 minutes I'll ring a bell. Thank you.
But I will perhaps at the end, after we've heard all the speakers, I'll just say this to you, that the crucial words here are intelligence and the other is artificial. When I was young, we had heard of found jewelry, artificial jewelry, we had heard of things which were fake, but today it becomes so real that it touches your skin. The medical world is using artificial intelligence not only for operations but also for successful treatment of the heart and even the nervous system, and we have two doctors to uphold that. We have the artificial intelligence now is to help us understand where floods are likely to take place, and we have the artificial intelligence which is giving you data poisoning, fake news, and has bias within it. It was news to me when I heard that some of the top Google exponents had said that their credit card rating evoked a knowledge that the man is more capable of running a larger credit than that of the wife. And this comes from Steve. And there are many other issues that I'd like to take up, but I think I'll leave it for the debaters to debate. So artificial intelligence which has come into being, today when we look at it, I'll give you just a few talking points to start it off. The chatbot, the virtual assistant, self-driving cars, facial recognition, robots, transportation, spam filtration, and of course even bank deposits. They all need the artificial intelligence. And on this note, let me now call on the leader of the proposition, start, and then we'll move on to the other flank, and Ms. John, also from Chennai, will lead the opposition. Would you take your score? I will make a few remarks here and there, but we are doing away with the interjections and floor speeches for want of time, but we will, of course, take your questions at the team.
Success Speaker, I'm sharing from the heart. It's not ironic that the proposition is sitting to the right of the speaker, because we are on the right. So obviously we have to be on the right. I don't think they planned it that way, but it's just happened. However, having said that, I want to congratulate Vivek Agarwal and the entire team that put together this theme. It reminds me of an old Hindi song, Ye Kahani Hai Diye Ki Aur Tufan Ki. So Diya is about facing the tufan. Diya is about facing the tsunami. Right? It is about keeping the lamp alive. And it is not about solving all the problems. We never said that we can solve all the problems through DEI. What we are trying to do is to make sure that we are strong enough if there is a tsunami. We have to face it. And that is the human element of the tools that we are creating. Remember, it's not artificial intelligence, is not anything more than a tool for us. Just as the human brain is only a tool for us to develop us. And today we're talking about neurological. I know we have a very esteemed member of the profession in the house today. Neurological leadership is what we call the new phase in management. That we're studying the human brain to see how it can benefit not just for myself, but the entire humanity, how the brain can benefit, simply because the brain knows only two things. The basic function of the brain is protection. It is meant to protect us. But we abuse it, and that's why I call it the MAD principle of the brain. MAD. What is MAD? Misuse, abuse, disuse. And this is what is creating problems for humanity. It's not the brain itself. What does the brain want to do? Either a reward or a threat. That's all it can recognize. So if artificial intelligence can offer rewards, we will use it well. Unfortunately, it is offering threats in the name of rewards. You can see today a very pertinent point made by one of our speakers in the morning, that gaming is one of the biggest industries in the world today, and especially in India. And gaming is a threat to social security. Simply because we need to tax it now because people are abusing it. It's not that gaming is wrong, but if you're doing it only for procreation and not recreation, right? Because if you understand what I'm saying, I don't need to spell it out, right? Gaming is being used and abused by people, but gaming is normally the best tool for education, and we are not using it that way, so we deserve what we get. And it's not that we have to worry about the tools that we are creating. We have to worry about the minds that are using the tool. And I think it is about guided missiles in the hands of misguided minds. That is what we have today. We have misguided minds using guided missiles like artificial intelligence, like digitalization. And obviously, if you're not able to institutionalize it, it means it is wrong for social good. So institutionalization means that if it is in the right direction, it will become institutional. And 10 years back, it was a good finance minister of India who kind of laughed at the idea that you would go and buy vegetables in the shop and pay digitally. Not 10 years ago in the parliament. And today we know that almost everybody is digitally literate. Almost everybody knows better than you how to use digital transfer. Now, if you can't take care of yourself, you have to have your health care not. Did I get it? I thought I imagined, because you already put the thought in my mind, and now. So what are the points I want to make? Diya is the lamp of knowledge for the management system. Diya is a must for DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusivity. This morning, the Chief Guest made a point, which is very pertinent to all of us here. It's because of the Acae that you will realize that there are not enough educated, talented women in this hall. Because you can measure how many women have entered the profession, how many are attending this conference. Because of that, you can actually increase numbers. You can actually target people like Ms. Singhania to get into the profession, to get involved in the organization. This is because of DEI. So what is DEI? Diversity, equity, inclusivity. And that increases because of DEI. That's the best point you can make for making it more human. Because this is what we want. We don't want exclusive clubs of people running organizations. We want diversity. We want more people to come. But if you tell them, they don't join. So how do you do it? Measure it and adapt it. and you can do it. So point number 2, data is now the new oil. People thought, Venezuela thought, because of the oil, they thought they ruled the world. The Middle East thought that they were ruling the world. Today they realize big data is going to be the future, and India is at the head of that future. Because we are using our brains better than most other people in the world who prefer to hire our brains, which is good for us. Right? We are happy that America uses so much of Indian brain power, and the money comes to help people in India. So I think the new fuel for growth is the IA. If you don't take it up, it's not going to spare us, it's going to crush us if you're not ready for it. In the 15th century, India was number 1 for GDP all over the world because we were the best traders, we went everywhere. By the 17th century, China had overtaken us. By the 19th century, America had overtaken both of us. And today we are struggling to get back there, using our own brain power, their money. We are now becoming a superpower. As the speaker in the morning said, I think it was a very relevant point. The Prime Minister says, why should we wait for certification from other countries? Why can't we be the standard setting certificates? Why can't we issue the certificate? And I'm sure it will happen because we have the right priorities. DIA eliminates corruption by collusion. Earlier you knew that you went to the station, you thought you can get into the train anyway, right? And anyway literally means anyway. And you thought as long as you had Gandhiji in your pocket, you can get anything. Today you realize you need Gandhiji in your heart if you want to come up in business. It doesn't help to have Gandhiji in the pocket. The only way you can move forward is start becoming compliant and not complaining, right? You start becoming compliant, in the long run, you will survive. Next point, DIA is predictive, but it's not preventive. It doesn't stop you from growth. It is predictive about how growth trends are. Imagine the Australian Open tennis final. Rafael Nadal was fighting for his 22nd Australian Grand Slam, the Grand Slam title. He was down 2 sets against a player called Medvedev from Russia. He was down 3-4. The predictor, artificial intelligence showed that he had 96% chances of losing, 4% chances of winning. But Nadal was not watching the scoreboard. He didn't know the score. He didn't know the prediction. All he knew is he has to win this match. And that is how we should deal with DIA. Instead of worrying about it, start working with it. So what did Nadal do? Focus on the match, not on the numbers. And what happened at the end? He won the match. Medvedev, who was 96% supposed to win, lost the match that was in his pocket. So DIA is not preventive. It doesn't stop you from growth. It is predictive. It tells you that these are the chances of winning. It's up to you to prove them wrong. DIA eliminates unconscious bias. People develop biases unconsciously towards their own community, their own religious affiliations, towards their own gender, towards their own children. In the long run, you realize everything gets nullified. You just need to look at COVID to understand that nothing can be predictive. You can only try to protect what you've made. You can't think that you own everything. I remember the man who said, don't walk as if you own the world. Walk as if you don't care who owns the world. Why should you worry? Why should you worry who owns the world? As long as you know that you know where you're going, you know what you're doing. And that is where India leads the way for self-awareness. India leads the way for consciousness, not just for data and intelligence. That is just one function of the human mind. And if you know the famous Shankaracharya song, Nirvan Shatakam, you will know that Mano Buddhi Ahankara Chittani Naham. So I'm neither the mind, which is very fickle, I'm neither the brain, which is calculative, I'm neither my awareness that, so many people are against me in this hall at the moment, right? I am neither the ahankara. Oh, they invited me to Calcutta, I must be a great speaker. Next thing I'll know, I'll never get an invitation again. All I can do is focus on my job, be a karma yogi. And Swami Vivekananda told us how to do it. Why can't we do it? We can. Simply because DIA eliminates unconscious bias for an even playing field. It helps promote excellence for nishkama karma. Don't get attached to a result. Get attached to a process. Mahendra Singh Dhoni is the best example. Right? Rahul Dravid was a great example. You don't have to be the best player in the world. Focus on your job at hand. Automatically results will come. And DIA will help you understand how many others are trying the same results. In the olden days, we never knew how many people were trying to climb Mount Everest. Only when you reach there, you got the reward. Today, you know by data. So what's wrong? I think that's a great idea. Do let me know if I missed the bill.
Yes, sir.
Okay? There you go. So my last point is, DIA will make us more human by helping us to make a choice. And what is that choice? Comply or complain. The choice is yours. Thank you very much.
You should took it from a very famous student and said that I am neither the brain nor water. Quite surprising to know that Meta, the parent organization of Facebook, is precisely now using AI to catch your cravings. It can actually tell you what you're thinking and what your response to a certain output is. So, and I shudder to think what people within the party will do when Meta comes in. So, on that note, I will request Nancy John to Nina John to speak. But I have a rider for her. You know, when you're talking about intelligence, you're talking about reasoning, logic, problem solving, learning and planning. Whereas these are the aspects that of AI that perhaps it dresses well. There are certain other aspects like emotional quotient, the physical quotient, the spiritual quotient. How far can AI take?
Mr. Moderator, fellow debaters, distinguished members of the Association of ACE. Good afternoon. I'm from Chennai, and recently at Chennai, we hosted the Chess Olympiad with, at the inaugural, one of the most outstanding events that I have ever seen. An entire chess game was recreated using human dancers from every part of India. Now, this kind of humongous exercise involves a melding of art, poetry, the philosophy, and artificial intelligence. So when we use them together, we create an event of symphony and harmony. Chess itself is one of the first areas where artificial intelligence was used. Alan Turing developed a program in 1955. IBM later had Deep Blue play against Garry Kasparov, and Garry Kasparov won twice. The Deep Blue machine and all of those are doing exactly what AI is supposed to do. Add more information, tweak the machine for better performance. And that happens everywhere and all the time. But we have to realize, as the moderator just mentioned about metaverse and, our brain waves being monitored, that artificial intelligence is so universal, so ubiquitous, and so unobtrusive that we don't realize when we are being targeted or when we are being attacked. The Google timeline, for example, tells me now not only where I went, but also which bakery I went and bought lemon tarts and chocolate eclairs from. Okay, so maybe my husband is the only one interested in whether I bought chocolate eclairs or lemon tarts. But where is that information going? Who is collecting all that information? Who is collecting, collating, disseminating, manipulating, selling that information? Location tracking of individuals, you and me, traveling everywhere. What's happening? A friend of mine and I were talking about the fact that some five-star hotel she went to, creme brulee served was not up to the mark, so we had a discussion. The next day, the Facebook feed gives ads for where creme brulee is available, where I can get it, and how is that? Because Google time meetings, Cortana, Siri, Alexa, all of these are eavesdropping on you all the time. A study showed that we inadvertently turn on these up to 19 times a day. And that conversation, that private conversation is used, recorded to profile us, data analysis, customer profiling, all of these things. So how do we do, what can we do? In terms of facial recognition, remember, machines are as liable to error or less liable to error than humans, but you can still have problems with facial recognition. As one study had it, the facial recognition program introduced had recognition or was able to recognize only white Caucasian faces. It did not have the right thing for brown, Asian, Chinese features. All of those, what happens when you're trying to use these to profile people? And you have to think. In 3 or 4 different fields, in medicine, this kind of changes we are seeing are drastic, dramatic, miraculous cures, all kinds of things happening. But is the data that all this is based on correct? Where are they getting the data from? And is the data collected accurate? In chess, for example, chess games, the moves on the chessboard, the number of games played. Every one of you in this room, I'm sure, can reel off statistics about cricket and who batted when, where, and how much, what was the average of batters. I think we just had a conversation. But takes an event as mind-boggling and as life-changing as COVID. Every single government and country across the world were fudging their statistics. Not one of them actually released genuine statistics. Even when you're talking about the data, you have to think about all the factors that affect medical lives. The kind of healthcare that you get in India, or South Africa, or Australia, or America, the kind of comorbidities that different patients have. Can you ascribe all these deaths to COVID, and can you release a study based on that? In some cases, yes, we were lucky enough and great enough in our country to release a vaccine in time to deal with a lot of these. But what happens for the future? In terms of law, artificial intelligence helps provide, cite cases, get data, all of these much faster, and as in both the legal and medical cases, releases doctors and lawyers from mundane paperwork and goes on to help them literally spend more time with patients or litigants. But, again, in terms of all these things, how are all these people dealing with that? When you think in terms of the kind of problems that we are having in the financial world, you've got malware, phishing, denial of distributed servicing. Every one of us has seen on our friends' Facebook profiles, my account has been hacked. Please do not send money to this account. And what happens when all of these are weaponized? What happens is that the cost, the human cost, affects human security, dignity, and privacy. When I have a chatbot from Amazon, which is available 24/7, and tells me what product I can buy and at what range or price or whatever, it's nice. But when a chatbot is used or released, or an army of chatbots is released to troll and have gendered, personal, vicious attacks of threats and rapes against individuals, that's what we have to worry about in terms of artificial intelligence. Because Twitter itself is now having something along with Elon Musk where they are talking about how many of their accounts are actually people and how many are actually chatbots. And all of this cost of artificial intelligence, who's building it up? It's the Elon Musks of the world, the Jeff Bezos, the Gautam Adanis and Mukesh Ambanis, who are getting richer and richer. India had 166 billionaires last year. And the number of people below the poverty line, according to a Pew study, is 364 million. India officially shifted into a country of mass poverty after 45 years. This unintended consequence of artificial intelligence and prosperity will affect the human race. And this is what we're talking about. Who actually owns artificial intelligence? Who disseminates all that information? Who decides where that information is going and what is going to be done with that information? With all this data that we have, those are the questions we should ask. In all the data that we have, where is the information? In all the information that we have, where is the knowledge? In all the knowledge that we have, where is the wisdom? And that precisely is what we have to worry about with artificial intelligence. Because the total lack of accountability, the total lack of transparency, the total lack of a moral compass is what we need to worry about. Portia told Shylock to take 1 pound of flesh, no more and no less. She also spoke about the quality of mercy and how it is not strained. Artificial intelligence can digitize legal matters. It cannot offer empathy and sympathy. And so, for these very reasons, the lack of transparency, the lack of accountability, the lack of empathy, I maintain that artificial intelligence will make our world a less humane place. Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. My apologies for using your name as Nancy, but I mean, yes, my apologies, I said, for using Nancy, but that was playing on my mind because I remembered Nancy Pelosi, who was fakely videoed at the Facebook, and Zuckerberg then mentioned, would the Facebook react differently had its own owner been manipulated? So, of course, the brain works in a different way when you're working on the word. Nancy, I made that mistake. My apologies, Nina. But let's move on to the next speaker, and that's Dr. Kunal Sarkar. Anticholinergic is a new world that AI is entering, and it would please you to know that doctors are now able to tell you how you would react to a certain medicine. And that's where the help of this research is really taking you. But there'll be more to share, and Dr. Kunal Sarkar can tell us what wonders AI can do for you.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, sir. My fellow debaters, the first bit of medical statutory warning that we would like to start the debate with is that to the Association of Corporate Advisors, that advice generally is of two types. One is good advice and the other is bad advice. And for that matter, it will be absolutely obvious at the end of the next hour and a half that where the good advice is coming to the floor from this afternoon. There is a different dimension to the debate, and do not get completely perturbed and washed away by the scaremongering of the opposition, and that is the dimension of being humane. It is within the last few hours that the world lost the Queen of England, and before her came another queen, Queen Victoria, in whose time the prosperity, the colonial clout, the amassing of wealth that was known by one particular country has never been repeated in human epoch. And in spite of that, at the height of amassing wealth, remember that the people of Europe, the people of England, the people of the empire was at their poorest. The world has known many breakthroughs of science and technology. We have known the discovery of fire, we have known the discovery of electricity, we have known the discovery of semiconductors, but it is with the information technology revolution that matures into the revolution of the artificial intelligence, that the knowledge currency of the world, that was the currency, that was the food, that was the triphosphate of metabolism on which the billions and billions of people on this world could live, could be conveyed to the population of world at large. That, ladies and gentlemen, is being humane. Being humane means allowing the people to live a life of dignity. I challenge the statistics that yes, what was the poverty statistics in a colonially deprived India? You only had 10% of the country who could be defined as solvent, and the rest of the entire subcontinental population was in poverty, Madam Speaker. Today the ratios are reversed. Today you have about 25 times reduction in mortality, in maternal mortality. Why do you have 25% reduction in maternal mortality? Because the Anganwadi worker is able to hang on to the cell phone and alert the district ambulance service that a delivery is at hand. That is what information technology has given us. It has reduced the cost of production. It has made e-commerce and e-distribution a reality. It has given people access to knowledge products. It has made an entrepreneur in every household. So neither is knowledge a kind of Rahul Gandhi's entitlement. Neither is your right to wealth, your right to acquire the means to live, the entitlement economy of the world has been shattered, and that has been the disruption that the information technology-led artificial intelligence has enabled. We were talking about COVID and healthcare. Yes, it is absolutely true every country in the world has fudged their figures, but it is also absolutely true that countries of the world who put their mind to it could predict through their predictive models that what was about to happen. Take the example of Scandinavia, where you had Anders Tegnell, who could at the beginning of a respiratory pandemic predict the balance between paralyzing your economy and restricting your activity. And thereby Scandinavia, Sweden was the only country at the end of 3 waves who could strike a balance between life and livelihood. We were using cheap computers. We were using party loyalists. India was using the Sutra model, which was a little less successful than the Kama Sutra, as a result of which the party saffron loyalists out of IIT Kanpur, which was never known to be a great hub of epidemiology, went on producing one fallacious model after another. So if you put in garbage, you will put out garbage. That is the world's biggest infallible law of information technology. You're talking about COVID. How on earth were you able to manufacture a vaccine in 8 months? It is because artificial intelligence helped you to recognize the epitopes of a virus upon the fundamental work that was done on Ebola. That is what made vaccines possible in 8 months, and that is what made vaccines permeate to the entire society. Education. We know that education was sustained during COVID. With digital education, we had our limitation. We had only 13 to 15% penetration of the internet. That is not an excuse to limit digital education. That is an excuse to proliferate the information technology into the depths and crevices of Indian social life. So the first and foremost ethos that you realize about information technology today, do not submit to the kind of pandering that people are tracking you. Indira Gandhi tracked you during emergency. Lalu Prasad Yadav tracked you in the middle of Patna. Mamta Banerjee and his gundas tracks you in the middle of Kolkata and West Bengal right now. So whether you are being tracked in one form or another is not a paranoia that gives into surrendering the fruits of a technology. That has been. Alexander in kind of 1 AD complained about fake news that was being circulated during his Macedonian campaign. Madam, you talked about Alan Turing, who in the year 1942 from a little room called room number 8 in Bletchley in United Kingdom, after his work with the Enigma computer was done, Alan Turing was hunted for his work on artificial intelligence. He was called a homosexual, etc., and he was compelled not by people who were in the domain of science, but by the scaremongering that this guy is doing something disruptive. He is a homosexual. He will track us, to hell with this kind of technology. That is how at the age of 52, Alan Turing perished by self-cyanide poisoning. Only the second person to do that after the great Socrates had poisoned himself on a cup of hemlock. Our future stands in front of us, ladies and gentlemen. The future that will unshackle this country. The future that will unshackle this country from little pockets of entitlement. A future that will permeate commerce, knowledge, education, health. It was not too long ago when you had pain, chest and myocardial infarction. It carried a 30% mortality. You were so dead scared of COVID. COVID had a 1.5% mortality. And if there is one tool that is going to save you in the very near future, very shortly, in a matter of months and years, you will be holding, not the cell phone like that, you will be holding the cell phone on the chest for your 3-lead ECG to come across. That module already exists, and that ECG will translate to your health center in matter of seconds. You are a diabetic, you want to know what your 24-hour blood glucose profile is. You will have a little chip in your hand. The end of blood tests as we know it today is round the corner. That chip will give you a real-time sensing of 2,000 biochemical parameters, will flash up on your cell phone as and when you need it. That is technology, that is artificial intelligence of future. And no amount of scaremongering, no amount of tracking, no amount of I am being followed, no amount of my account is being looked at can be a barrier to that progress of life and living. Where the country stands, ladies and gentlemen, where the society is perched, ladies and gentlemen, be brave and embrace the technology, because in 10,000 years of recorded human history, not one debate against technology has ever been won. In 10,000 years of recorded human history, The Kodak film did not win the debate against the digital camera. In 10,000 years of recorded human history, the typewriter tried, but eventually it lost the debate to the word processor. So no matter how hard you try, no matter how ominous your scaremongering is, time is here for society to recognize the merits of technology, to use it for knowledge, commerce, health, education, for good of the country and good of the every last citizen. Every medicine is potentially a poison. Take 2 tablets of paracetamol, your headache is cleared. If you are stupid enough to take a whole bottle of paracetamol, your liver is gone for good. I hope you will not do that, because that is not the motion of this afternoon. And as far as the motion of this afternoon is concerned, every emerging technology, from Benjamin Franklin's electricity to Alan Turing's artificial intelligence, will have to be harnessed for civilization to move on. Thank you, Chairman, sir. I remain.
Dr. Sarkar did mention the use of technology. Robert Solow, who was the second person to win the Nobel Prize, says 90% of human growth, economic development, depends on technology. So I think that's the point he was making. He also touched the issue of education. An Indus International School in Bangalore is now using the robot to teach and the teacher to mentor. So is that the option left for us? He did mention where technology has gone and how it could read your heartbeats and your diabetic things. But the question is, as Nina John points out, 350 million people are below poverty line. So who takes care of that? So if I am looking at intelligence, I am looking at practicality, I am looking at analysis, I am looking at creativity. May I invite Dr. Shundip Chatterjee to react to that.
The Right Honorable Cardiac Surgeon informed us that artificial intelligence is good, artificial intelligence is inevitable, artificial intelligence has helped us fight COVID, artificial intelligence will tell us about our heartbeat and our blood sugar. We completely agree with the Right Honorable Cardiac Surgeon. But we should remind him what the motion of today states, which is artificial intelligence will make the world more humane, not less humane. And what I propose to analyze from this side is whether the Right Honorable Cardiac Surgeon's contentions about artificial intelligence will indeed make this world more humane or not. Mr. Chairman, sir, ladies and gentlemen, we have already heard that artificial intelligence is based on circuitry in the brain. It is physical, tangible, mathematically and statistically reproducible. Hear from a brain surgeon now that humaneness is quite different. Humaneness transcends all physical parameters that you can measure. Humaneness, Dr. Sarkar, resides in the heart itself. Our knowledge may be unknown to heart surgeons. So artificial intelligence is based on the ease we've heard about from Dr. Sarkar. It is efficient, it is elaborate, it is effective. Humaneness depends on the C's. It depends on compassion, concern, care, and a conscience. It is our humble contention from this side of the floor that artificial intelligence does not factor in any of these C's of humaneness that we attribute to the highest human values. We have heard Mr. Keshav talk about history and Dr. Sarkar talk about 10,000 years of recorded history. And I'm going to use history as one of the evidences of the failure of artificial intelligence. You will remember that in Greek mythology, Vulcan's forges were where Vulcan taught instruments to become gods, and they were made to manufacture parts, body parts, till they became against their manufacturer and Vulcan had to kill them off at the end. You will remember the golems of the Jews. The Jews believed that the rabbis could infuse life into this equipment to make them work like human beings, until such a point that these equipment, which had artificial intelligence infused into them, became too powerful for their creators. And this prompted Mary Shelley's rendering of Frankenstein. I have to talk about healthcare, coming after a healthcare expert. And I will tell you the story of a young man who came to see a doctor, maybe Dr. Sarkar, complaining of heaviness in his chest, headache, and tingling in his fingers. Artificial intelligence used by Dr. Sarkar and all his gadgetry looked at the headache, prescribed a CT scan, an MRI, an angiography of the brain vessels, then looked at the tingling in his fingers, suggested 14 blood tests, then thought about the heaviness in his heart, put all those equipment into his pocket to measure his ECG and all his cardiac parameters. After 8 lakhs of rupees and his entire insurance has been exhausted and everything was normal, artificial intelligence predicted, go and see a psychiatrist. But when this man walks into a humble doctor's chamber like myself, and you look at this man and you see his unkept hair, his unkept fingernails, the shuffling, trembling, nervous gait as he enters your office, he complains of the same complaint. You can put your hand on his shoulder and say, "What is troubling you, my dear fellow? Tell me the truth." And he says, "I lost my mother 10 days ago, and my girlfriend ran away 3 days ago." And you know what he needs is not all those gadgets of artificial intelligence. He needs another human being who can hold his hand. He needs another doctor whose shoulder he can weep on. And no money is wasted, but no artificial intelligence can bestow upon you this humaneness. And that is our point from this side of the floor. You can have EHR, electronic health records. You can have deep learning algorithms. Ladies and gentlemen, however, remember that artificial intelligence works on the median part of the statistics. It completely ignores outliers. It is based on the statistics of the median of the group. If I now tell you there is a human physiological function, excuse me for saying this, but I'm a man of biology, there is a human physiological function called ejaculation, where 20,000 cells are produced, and these 20,000 cells are in the race to meet one cell from the female of the species. If you look at the median, the chance of the median reaching that one of the species is very small. And if you use artificial intelligence, you will probably conclude that the human race will be extinct because it is not reproducible at all, looking at the median under the curve. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not only healthcare. Marketing and financial strategy controlled by artificial intelligence can be a danger to mankind, and because it lacks any humaneness. Remember, artificial intelligence predicted marketing strategy looks at profits, penetrations, and predictions. Humaneness looks at privacy, personality, and power. So we might have artificial intelligence used by our political leaders to decide what we should invest in for the future. The answer will be we should build up the military. We should have more spending on the military. That will be more stronger. You can use artificial intelligence to decide what will you do if you see a man drive a truck with 2 cows inside the truck. And artificial intelligence will tell one group of our political leaders, you should stop the truck, get out the cows, burn the truck and kill the driver. Artificial intelligence will tell our other group of political leaders, if you see that truck with 2 cows and a man driving, stop that truck, load it with more cows and send it to the Bangladesh border. That is what artificial intelligence does. It uses predictive models which completely, as you can well appreciate, lacks any form of human values which we call humaneness. We heard that artificial intelligence, and I quote the first speaker from the other side, saying they are guided missiles in misguided minds. I agree with you, sir. Artificial intelligence is exactly that. It is a guided missile in a misguided mind. If you look at artificial intelligence, what have we against it being humane? What we have against it being humane is because it has no respect for ethics. It has no respect for human values. Ethics and human values are not factored in when you look at those parameters of your heart rate or your blood sugar. It can look at the profits you make as a doctor in a corporate hospital, but it cannot look at your human values as a doctor. So what does artificial intelligence do? It represses the poor. It rejuvenates the rich. It reduces human jobs. It has a prediction of causing economic upheaval. It reduces cognitive survival skills, which, as you know, Dr. Darwin predicted many years ago, we need to be the fittest of the species. So, Mr. Chairman, sir, ladies and gentlemen, I would sum up by saying why artificial intelligence will make this world less humane is because artificial intelligence looks at collective cognition and cerebral circuitry. Humaneness looks at covert compassion, looks at credible considerations. Artificial intelligence looks at automatism, acceleration, and has arrogance, the 3 A's. Humaneness has the 3 P's, personality, purity, and personal power, none of which is provided by artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence mimics brain circuitry. Humaneness transcends brain parameters. Artificial intelligence looks at the price. Humaneness refers to the values. And finally, artificial intelligence is like the cardiac surgeon who dissects into the matter of the heart. Humaneness is like the brain surgeon who prefers first to dissect into the heart of the matter. Thank you very much.
Chai. Yes. Chai. Let me talk. Dr. Shondeep Chatterjee reminded me of Swami Vivekananda, who said, your goal depends on purity, patience, and perseverance. Do these attributes come from artificial intelligence, particularly when intelligence is all about mental capacity, and in the realm of military, it's military intelligence, which is actually gathering information. What happens if you indulge in data poisoning? What happens if you're the very source that gives you the data is corrupted? What happens if you are actually putting in words, in syncing it in the lip movement of the former President Obama and make him say things that he never did? Would Mr. Sinha respond to that?
Mr. Moderator, sir, and members of this august House, I wish you all a very good afternoon. My job as the final speaker for the proposition is to rebut the arguments made by the opposition. I must thank the members, the speakers of the opposition so far for making my job so easy. Let us begin by once again reiterating the topic, the proposition, before this House. In the opinion of the House, artificial intelligence will make the world more humane, not less. It is unfortunate that my speakers on the other side of the fence didn't really address that issue or didn't address it adequately enough. Let me begin by quoting Erik Brynjolfsson, the director of the MIT Initiative on Digital Economy. And I quote, "Humanity will use artificial intelligence to make the world a better place. For instance, we can virtually eliminate global poverty, massively reduce disease, and provide education to almost everyone on the planet." I think the members of the opposition, I wouldn't quite call them Luddites, but you really can't stand in the way of progress and technology by fear-mongering, as my colleague said, by raising these scepters, these artificial ghosts when we talk about artificial intelligence. The same kind of debates happened during the Industrial Revolution. The same thing happened when the horse-drawn carriage became a horseless carriage, and then when the internal combustion engine was being replaced by the electric vehicle. This talk is really, it doesn't address the issue at hand at all. If you're talking about whether this technology, AI, will make life more humane on this planet, let us look at the facts. Technology doesn't change society. It is exactly the reverse. Society comes up with technology to address the problems which are already prevalent. And that is what AI is doing on an everyday basis. Let us begin by addressing some of the points made by the first speaker. She talked about privacy and profiling and how she was afraid of being tracked. Is that really a fear for anyone in this room today? Don't we all know that there's something known as privacy settings? It's up to us whether we want to be tracked or not. She talked of facial recognition and the problems, the very real problems, I admit, in relation to facial recognition, because it is easier to use that technology with Caucasians than it is with people of color. But is that the fault of artificial intelligence, or is it the fault of the programmer? Do you deride nuclear energy or the science behind it because it is used to make nuclear weapons? What about nuclear medicine? What about nuclear power? So you cannot deride a technology or call it less humane because of the inhumane human beings who are wielding that technology. She also talked about 350 million people being below the poverty line. What does that have to do with artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is the only technology available today which can bring up those 350 million people above the poverty line. And that's not me who's saying that, it's scientists and experts and policy planners around the planet. Our second speaker for the opposition, I must say, was very entertaining. Unfortunately, when he wasn't quoting from mythology and literature, he was educating us on the process of ejaculation. Examples of how to use artificial intelligence were quoted, but those are not the examples that ought to be quoted, because they were again examples of how it was being wrongfully used. Today, artificial intelligence is involving education, healthcare, solving global hunger around the world. And that is the only technology that we know of today which can, in such a short span of time, address the multitude of challenges which are going to be coming up in the coming decades. Do you know that according to the United Nations, over 150 billion people in the world will be living in cities by 2050? Think of, I'm sure you're all a well-traveled bunch, think of what it means to have cities which are as congested as the poorest parts of Hong Kong, living one on top of the other in small congested spaces. Artificial intelligence is working at decongesting cities by saying, you know what, let's go back to the model where you can work and live in suburbs, telecommute, or even if you have to come into work, you can be driven in self-driven automated vehicles, and the time that you spend commuting is actually going to be productive. You can either work or you can even play. There's technology right now which is evolving, which will provide services while you're on the move. You can get a haircut while going into work. You can socialize with friends on a self-automated vehicle on the way back from work to home. So AI is actually where the future is at. It is not something to be feared, it is something to be celebrated. Think of your own organizations. How much time in your organizations is spent by you and your colleagues in doing mindless process work? AI will free you and your employees and your colleagues from doing all that process-driven work to focus on more human interactions, whether it is with customers or with your own colleagues, and make your organizations more humane. So forget about solving world hunger and global poverty and global illiteracy. These are very real examples for you in your own organizations where AI is actually going to be creating a more humane environment. The second speaker also talked about how so I addressed the issue about increasing poverty. AI is actually going to reduce poverty. He talked about reduction in jobs. That is, again, an absolutely fallacious argument. Net job creation is going to go up. When the coal miners went on strike saying that they will lose their jobs, the response was, you know what, but there'll be so many new jobs being created in clean energy. The same with AI. Mindless, mind-numbing jobs, which are repetitive in nature and data-driven, will be eliminated, but there's so many new jobs which are going to be created just because of artificial intelligence. He talked about a reduction in cognitive skills. Do you know today, because of artificial intelligence, blind people can virtually see using their smartphones? Exactly the opposite. Artificial intelligence is going to increase cognitive skills in people because AI augments human capabilities. That's what it does. Can it be abused? Of course it can. All technology can be abused and is by humans, not by the technology itself. So when you talk about whether AI is going to make things more humane or less, listen to the experts, listen to the scientists, and listen to the policy planners. AI is going to make things more humane. It is going to make this world a better place. It's going to alleviate global poverty. It's going to reduce global illiteracy. It's going to improve outcomes all around. I think when you stand in the way of progress, you do it out of a sense of fear, out of a sense of ignorance, or out of a sense of misunderstanding. It's really up to us to overcome all these three. Because it makes no sense for us to live the way we currently are living and continue to live in this world of inequity, of unfairness, by just raising this bogey of change. Change is good. If you do not change, you decay. If you do not change, you do not progress. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you join me in raising your voice for artificial intelligence so that this world is not just a better place, it is a more humane place. Thank you.
Mr. Sinha's observation on a better place reminds me of the first ad British Airways brought in when the Concorde taxied down the runway and took off, and it came up with a caption, "The world will become a smaller place." Indeed, it has. If you look at WhatsApp, if you look at the way we interact with one another and keep a track on your friends and relations who might be miles away, the world has become a smaller place. But has it become a safer place? I was just told yesterday that now you don't need to send an OTP. Nowadays, they're hacking your bank accounts even with an OTP. the hacker calls you and says, I've hacked your account. If you want a part of your money back, then send your information on this, and if you do, there's an OTP given, and then you're actually hacked. So where is this taking us? The reason why I'm raising this is, I thought arts had a place. But today I hear Jason Allen is a one who won an art competition by using the computer and not the paintbrush. And whose reaction do I need to look at more than a famous film producer we have in Calcutta, Ashok Vishwanathan.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, imagine a robot, and you might have heard of this, programmed to slap you if you tell a lie. It has been kept in a house where there's a son and the mother, and the father asked the son, you were absent yesterday, what were you doing? The son said, I was studying. The robot slapped him. I was watching pornography. Immediately the mother said, oh, so you are the father of your own son, and the robot slapped the mother. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, imagine that artificial intelligence will obviously come with its concomitant problems. Now, once and for all, from this side of the floor, from all of us, we are not against artificial intelligence. I fully recognize the examples given by Dr. Kunal Sarkar in particular, in which he talked about the advantages of artificial intelligence, the facilities that it provides, and how the world could become a better place to live in. We even concede that. I even agree with what Mr. Sinha said. But, as Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee put it so succinctly, it might be a better place to live in, but will it be a more humane place? That is the crux of our argument. We on this side of the floor are trying to say that artificial intelligence does not have within its matrix anything that can make the world more humane. And why is that? We are not against technology at all. Of course, it can be used and abused. Of course, you can be misguided in your use of it. But I'm not going to quote n number of examples of how it has been misused, because you can give me examples of how it can be used in a proper way. But what is humane? Humaneness is compassion, kindness. We on this side of the floor are saying that artificial intelligence does not make the world humane. If at all, the humane quality is reduced through artificial intelligence, because, as Dr. Chatterjee rightly pointed out, much of the algorithms, not all, but much of it, depends on statistics, on data. You know, the programming depends on data from human experience. And among the three major characteristics, as a statistician, I can tell you, mean, median, and mode, it is the median and the mean that comes to the play more. Let me explain. If you look at Virat Kohli's statistics today, you will find that even today, his test average is 49.5, his one-day average is close to 58, and his T20 average is above 51. And yet, over the last 2.5 years, he's hardly been doing anything. In fact, he's been performing very badly. Therefore, the mean and the mode cannot give you the correct picture in any way. What is more important, as Dr. Chatterjee pointed out, are the outer limits, the extremities, what we call the standard deviation. It is the standard deviation which will tell you exactly how you are performing. It is our submission on this side of the floor is that artificial intelligence generalizes, it simplifies, it can be used to great advantage, but it cannot look after that exceptional case. And in medicine, you need to look at every patient. Am I not right, Dr. Chatterjee? Just because 99% of us are all right doesn't mean that that one person can be neglected. AI will not look at that person. If I go back to theory, the great Aristotle and Plato said that there is something called poiesis. Poiesis is the creation or the making of something that was not there before. And that creation can come only through uncertainty. I'm afraid artificial intelligence is against uncertainty. It's against poetry. It's against literature. We will be going into a world, if we depend totally on artificial intelligence, where uncertainty, unreasonableness, madness, irrationality will disappear from the face of the earth. Whereas those are the very elements that make literature, cinema, theater possible. Heidegger said, the great existential philosopher, that technology could lead to catastrophe if we see it as a monolithic, patriarchal form of harnessing energy. Now, how are you going to infuse technology with these human elements? Are we going to leave it to the robot who will slap you, to the android who will be the future? Or are we going to use it, as Mr. Sinha rightly pointed out, to augment our behavioral patterns in education, in technology, wherever? It needs to help us, but it will not make the world humane. If at all, it will make it less humane. And so far as jobs are concerned, Mr. Sinha began by saying that you need not do all those unnecessary jobs. And then in the end, he said that so many new jobs will be created. Now, I know he's not Steve Jobs, but there seems to be a paradox somewhere. Artificial intelligence is going to put a lot of labor out of work. It's going to make people defunct. It is going to reduce jobs. The IT and the new kind of jobs is only a minuscule. And as rightly pointed out by the chairman earlier on, there are certain people in this world who will be getting richer and richer. And we should see to it that that does not happen. We're in the ACAE, which is a body of corporates. Now imagine the kind of power that corporations will have at one point of time because of artificial intelligence. Democracy will be reduced. If I look at my area of cinema, in cinema we had celluloid and it became digitized after that. Now everyone has a camera in his hand. Holding a camera in your hand is like holding a gun. You can use it to defend yourself. You can also use it to kill someone. So it's dangerous. Imagine the kind of power that corporations will have if artificial intelligence begins to hold its sway all over the world. We need to temper it because it does not have the humane qualities that human beings have. That's why we have arts. It's not all technology. It is the feeling, the understanding, not just for humans, but for animals, for the environment, We need to think of everyone. This world is not just for one human being. It's for the microorganisms also. Not microorgasms, but microorganisms. So it's very, very important that we think of everyone, and I'm sure that we have that in our minds, and we will not allow free rein to artificial intelligence. I would like to conclude by saying that we are living in a world which is not an ideal place, regardless of the fact that very, very rosy pictures have been painted on the side of the proposition. Imagine if the Nobel Prize were to be given by Russia, who would get the Nobel Prize? No prizes for guessing the answer. So someone who uses technology to wipe out another nation will be given that award. Another nation would like to wipe out however small that country is. So we will find that the abuse will be more than the use, because centuries have not taught us anything at all. We still want power and wealth, and we continue doing that. 2022 years after they nailed a man called Jesus Christ on a mountaintop, we are still doing that. So imagine the danger. Imagine the danger of surveillance. as the leader of our side pointed out, imagine that you're being watched at every moment, that every single detail of yourself is open to everyone. Imagine a world like that. And why cannot we stay in the villages? What has the city got? Sometimes you might want to stay in that little place in the village, and you might not need all those creature comforts. We are not for a world which is unipolar, which is homogeneous, where people don't have any character, no irrationality. Bernard Shaw said long back that all progress depends on the unreasonable man. We are for unreason, because it is only through unreason that we can progress. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, artificial intelligence makes the world less humane. It is a dangerous area that we are treading into, but we are not scaremongering. We believe that it is important, it's advantageous, but we must realize that humaneness, the milk of human kindness, as the leader of the proposition pointed out, the quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. An earthly power doth then show like as God's, when mercy seasons justice. Thank you very much.
Ashok reminded me of my school anthem, where we talk about the school anthem, here's a hand for the lame and the slow. We'll rise like men with each other as onwards in life we go. Now, that's the humanity he is talking about, but to sum it up all, from the leader of the opposition, Nina John, will be given 3 minutes.
Mr. Moderator, sir, fellow esteemed opposition members and esteemed members of my team. Absolute pleasure to listen to the propositions 4, where the main theme song was, "You are opposing artificial intelligence. You cannot stop change. You are Luddites. You are hate mongers. You are creating unnecessary hype." Mr. Keshav spoke about be compliant, don't complain. Dr. Kunal spoke about how we can have a life of dignity and spoke about how chips can be implanted and help you get a better diagnosis or whatever. Again, there is no stopping of progress. Dr. Sandeep spoke about how it's brain circuitry. It's not a question of, it's a question of the brain and the heart, what happens, and the kind of references that both Mr. Keshav and Dr. Sarkar had used, and the example of Mary Shelley and the creation of Frankenstein. So what we are saying, that artificial intelligence is very much a case of misguided men creating misguided missiles to, I would say, take over humanity. Because what is metaverse doing? What are the Amazons of this world doing? What is happening with, they're no longer mega corporations, they're giga corporations. 5 or 6 corporates running the world and using artificial intelligence to do it. As our moderator pointed out, what happens when there is data poisoning? What happens when the number of overall jobs is reduced? Yes, when computers came, everyone said we will lose our jobs. Then it went into the stratospheric sphere of the number of jobs available. Now again, we're coming back to that. But when you say we are losing jobs, more and more people are actually moving into the morass of greater poverty without access to education, without access to the infrastructure of mega cities and smart cities. There is even a lack of hope. What can we do for that? Mr. Sinha pointed out that technology does not change society, but solves problems. Yes. But for every problem that's solved, there are so many more that are coming up. When we're talking about facial recognition and all of these things, what happens when this is used as in a case of weaponization? What happens when a company like Pegasus can plant information deep into your computer without you even knowing it, and then that information being used against you as proof of illegal activities? AI can be used for facial recognition, location, surveillance, weapons research. Fake news, it's not just me as an individual who has to worry about surveillance and location tracking. As an individual, I don't even know the difference between 5G, Parle G, or Shivaji. But when it is used to profile me, I have to worry about it. Fake news, voices, all of these can be created by AI. But remember, the biggest problem about AI is not the artificial intelligence. It's the lack of intelligence amongst human beings. And very simply, the lack of common sense when applying all these that will create the problems that will make AI let the world become a less humane place, not more. Mr. Moderator.
Yes, thank you. And to sum it up, from one flank of Chennai to the other, I don't know why Shah Rukh Khan made it so famous with his song, but this is the dance of words, not the dance of lungi. And Mr. M. Keshav to have the last word on this debate.
Thank you, Chairman sir. श्रोता श्रोता है जब वक्ता वक्ता है, लेकिन जब वक्ता बकता है तो श्रोता सोता है. Obviously, people listen to reason wherever they listen, and it is difficult to justify most of the arguments that have been presented today by the opposition, simply because perversion has always existed in human life. It didn't start with artificial intelligence, and it isn't going to end with artificial intelligence. We never made the point that this is going to be... The other day, Mr. Cyrus Misri died in a road accident, and we felt it's very sad, and we said from now on, ban all cars. Let's go back to bullock carts. Let's go back in time so that advancement will not affect our growth. That is not the point we wanted to make today. Humanness was about how to use artificial intelligence. It is not about the gun, and it's not about blaming the gun, but the user of the gun. We're talking about value education for the human mind to increase humanness or the humane quotient among human beings. Nothing to do with artificial intelligence. As the leader of the opposition rightly pointed out, we can't blame artificial intelligence for anything at all. However, having said that, the user is not the used, and therefore don't blame the used. You always blame the user. Love itself is an algorithm, like my doctor friend on my side said. It is digital footprints of human emotions in the mind. Your love for your children, your love for your wife is actually a reaction of the hormones in the brain. And when you try to replicate it artificially, it doesn't make it wrong. So what's wrong if music can be created by artificial intelligence? Obviously, love itself should be seen as a benign, higher form of consciousness when you use it in artificial intelligence. It gives us more time, it gives us more reach. In fact, the amount of good that we are able to do, I am a Rotarian, I wear my pin with pride. I'm sure many of you here know about Rotary. We are proud of the fact that what I can't do as a single individual, across the world, I'm able to help millions of people get more water, more food, more electricity. And I'm sure all of you realize in the last 20 years, the highest and the best parameters of human existence have come about because of digitalization. There is no argument. However, having said that, there is always some perversion in the system. There will always be perverted people. And therefore, if you had to modify the statement, The opinion of the House is that misguided artificial intelligence, okay, will definitely make the world less humane. But if it is guided properly, I can only see it growing. And I can only see that all of you will definitely agree that there is no other future for the world except invest in artificial intelligence. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. My job to sum up has been made so much more easier because we've had brilliant speakers from both sides. But as far as I'm concerned, the two most important, let's say, songs or quotations that impressed me and speeches was one by John Lennon, Imagine, and the other was by Sir Junior Martin Luther King when he said, I have a dream. The tragedy is, I'm still imagining and I'm still dreaming of the world they dreamt of. I would now like to say, what is it that we didn't have? If you look at technology, even by imagination, we had it all during our epics. We had Sanjay narrating the entire war, looking at the wall. Perhaps it was the television. We have heard about the Pushpakrat. We have heard of Brahmastra. We have heard of Meghnad fighting behind the clouds. All that, and what did it end up with? It ended up with a war of destruction. You know, I'm reminded of two quotes, and I'll end my note on that. One is from Lewis Carroll, where he says, Alice, he's quoting Alice and Alice in Wonderland, would you please tell me which way I go from here? And the Cheshire Cat says, that depends a good deal on where you want to go. Alice says, I don't much care where. The Cheshire Cat replies, then it doesn't matter which way you go, Alice, so long I get somewhere. The cat replies, you're sure to do it if you walk long enough. I happened to be in a management conference where Swami Ranganathananda addressed it. Until date, it is the most inspiring speech I've heard because he quoted from the Gita, and this is the last chapter of the Gita, and as professionals you need to remember this. He quotes chapter 18, verse 78. Yatha Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatha Partho Dhanurdhar, Tatra Shrir Vibhuti Mutir, Dhruvo Moti Motir Mama. What is he saying? Wherever there is Lord Krishna, the Lord of Yoga, wherever there is Arjun with his Dhanurdhar, the greatest archer ever, there you will have opulence, you will have peace, you will have victory, and that is my opinion. What he really means, action has no place without a vision. Action is needed. You couldn't win the war without Arjun, but you couldn't make it sustainable without Krishna. What is the vision? I think that's the happy note I'd like to end this debate on and put this motion to vote straight away because we are running out of time. So, members of the audience who feel that the motion stands for the proposition, please raise your hand. Don't smell your hand, raise it. Yeah. Okay. Will I have a show of hands for members who feel that the motion stands defeated? That's a very tough choice for me. I think I agree with Janesh, but let the lady have the last laugh. I mean, tell me, is it a tie?
It looked like a tie, I think.
Okay, it looks like a tie, and tie is always a knot. So I like knotty things.
I guess time will prove that.
On behalf of the speakers, let me thank you for giving us this wonderful audience.
Thank you so much. I have to admit, it was such an interesting session. And not to add, I think I haven't seen debates for a very long time, but this did remind me of my school days when we used to prepare and we used to have so much energy and competitiveness in debate. Ki nahi jeet ke rehna hai debate ko. So I loved that vibe that we have on the stage. So thank you so much for bringing that back. Can I please request CA Jinesh S. Banjara to present vote of thanks?
Yeah, I had to keep it on time because Shonda threatens to leave.
Yeah. At the end of the wonderful debate session, the second half post-lunch, sir. Of course, I did vote against the motion, but then even the chairman didn't take a chance between the heart and the brain, I suppose. It was more out of fear that you voted for a tie, I think. You favored in for a tie. You are caught between the two doctors, I suppose, sir.
Yes.
So, Professor Suman Mukherjee, I won't say that we consider you as ours. You are always ours. You've taken it for granted that you are ours.
My pleasure.
आप हमारे दिल में हैं और हम आपके दिल में हैं, sir. Thank you so much, sir. You have always been a guiding force for our ACAE. You not only consented, but you conceptualized the whole program. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. So, coming to this Dil and Dimag, I won't take a chance, sir. Both of you, thank you so much, but I feel that we put the wrong person on the wrong side. Maybe the brain should have been here and the heart should have been against the position. That's an afterthought, of course. Thank you, sir. Out of your busy schedules, both of you agreed, and although from medical profession, no Calcutta debate is ever complete without the two of you, sir. Thank you both, sir, for being here. Mr. Keshav and Neena ma'am, we had a dinner yesterday night, so we feel very good that not only both of you and all of you, in fact, consented, but you all responded to all of our communication, and you flew all the way from Chennai, spent a day with us. Keshav sir was used that analogy of unguided people, unguided missiles, and that song of Diya versus Tufan. Very thoughtful. And you talking of information and data analytics being used and misused. One thing that we have learned, such debates are always welcome. We learned that it is the level of argument that you need to raise and not the level of your voice, which we see every day evening on the TV debates, of course. Thank you both for being with us today. And Advocate Sinha is a co-brother, being from the same profession. His analytical skills have to be good, little biased towards him. Eliminate global poverty, educate all. So wonderful thoughts. I wish they come true. Thank you, Advocate Sinha. He also, in this busy schedule, he flew in the morning, is flying back in the evening. Thank you, sir. And of course, our own Ashok Vishwanathan, filmmaker into debater. Again, I can say for you, sir, the debates don't end without you being there, sir. Human quality needs more compassion and kindness, and not the median media mod that arithmetic. You explained very nicely, sir. By thanking you all who dealt with this artificial intelligence, I feel myself being more intelligent now, which is a quality doubted by my family sometimes. That is natural. That is natural. So thank you once again, all of you, and thanks for the wonderful audience, without whose participation it was not possible. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Yes. Just for a minute. Yeah. I request all past presidents of ACA, all committee members, and group and people who worked, and in fact, why not the audience too?
We request everyone to join us on dais for a group photograph, please.
Yeah. Everyone, please, just join us. Thank you very much. We now formally conclude the session. Vivek, do you have?
And we also thank you to Swati for being a perfect person like a Sutradhar who connected all the session. Thanks to Swati as well.
Thank you very much.